Do you have a belief that prevents you from the life that you want to live? Most people never take risks in life because they're terrified of failure. For some people, this looks like talking himself out of approaching an attractive woman in the coffee shop. For others, it means staying at the comfortable job instead of going all in the life that he wants to create.
Like trying to start something for yourself is a lot scarier compared to just having like a stable job.
In this video, you're going to see me approach a complete stranger in the streets of Spain and help him let go of his fear of failure. And I'll break down exactly how I do it so you can bring the same process into your belief and your healing work. And you can remove beliefs like I'm not good enough or I cannot fail so that you can fulfill your full potential in life. Look at this belief in your hand and just imagine throwing it back to your culture.
It's gone.
If you've never seen me before, my name is Ege, and over the last 5 years, I helped over 300 analytical men from companies like Amazon, Google, NASA, turn their mind into their biggest ally and create the life that they want. And this is the first time I take the same tools and bring it to a complete stranger on the street. So without further ado, let's get into the video and see what happens. Where are you from? Let me give you the mic. Yeah.
I'm from the UK.
Okay, what are you doing here?
Just on holiday with the family.
Nice. Where's your family? You just dropped them behind and decided to roll off on your own.
Yeah, well, they take it quite slowly, so I like to just go on my own pace.
Maximize it, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, well, what I wanted to ask you was, do you have a belief that prevents you from the life that you want to live? And I know we just met, so that can be quite the question. But the more open you can be, the more we can kind of explore that, if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, of course.
The first thing you want to do when you're exploring any belief is to create an environment of loving acceptance. So the reason I add, if that's something you want in this interview, is because I don't want Mark to feel pressured to answer me. I want him to feel comfortable. I want him to feel open. A lot of people talk about silencing their inner critic or slaying their demons, but what they don't understand is whenever you try to fight a part of yourself, you create more and more internal resistance. So whatever narrative you have in your mind, whatever thoughts, whatever limiting beliefs, first you want to accept and love the fact that they are here right now. A simple way to do that is to imagine someone or something like a pet you have a lot of love for, feel that emotion in your heart, and just bring that emotion to your current experience. Or if you have a family member or a friend who cares a lot about you, you can also imagine the love they have for you and bringing that love towards this belief. When you address beliefs from this space, what that allows you to do is no matter how strong and how destructive the belief is, you get to accept and understand this belief is here. And that lack of resistance, that lack of fighting you have towards a belief like, I need to be perfect or I cannot fail, allows you to explore it more objectively so that eventually we can let go of it.
I think the biggest thing is like being scared of failure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just if you're scared to like actually fail and actually do those things that you need to do to succeed, it can stop you from getting to where you need to go.
Okay. And for you, when does that fear of failure come up? In what situations?
I think even before starting sometimes, it's like overthinking things, like thinking you need to do way too much before actually even starting sometimes.
Okay, and starting what exactly? Like more in relationships, business, health? The reason I ask this question is because I want to get clear on exactly when the story is triggered. This is how we become aware of external situations or people who create this storyline and feeling in us so that eventually we can ask ourselves a very powerful question. What is the story I'm creating from this event that's leading to this response inside me? And that's actually how we get our power back. So if you have a limiting belief, you want to understand the specifics of exactly what happens in your external environment when you go into this storyline so that when we heal it, we can actually use these situations later to then go and see if we're triggered the same amount or if our healing actually sticks.
I think for me, it's more in business. Like trying to start something for yourself is a lot scarier compared to just having like a stable job.
Okay, so you feel like when you don't start, it's like you can't fail, so you're guarding against that, right? But if you do start, there's the risk of failing, so that risk prevents you from what you want to do.
100%, yeah.
Okay, and where do you think that story began?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it may be with the ideology of like being brought up, and obviously with your studies, it's like if you get a certain percentage, you fail, so you always want to do well. So you always try to like maximize everything in your brain to like pass those exams. Whereas when it comes to real life, it's very, very tough to do. So it could stem from that.
Okay. Do you want to explore that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'll give you a bit more context. Like I grew up in Turkey, right? So in Turkey, just like you said, you are your grades, and anything outside of that is a distraction.
Yeah.
So for you, when you were growing up, was school a big focus from your parents?
100%. Not just from my parents, but like I'm Filipino. So,
Nice. Kumusta ka?
Mabuti. But it's like, it's the entire generational thing. It's not just one family, it's like the whole of Philippines think the same thing.
Okay, so you feel like this is built into the culture?
100%, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, right? Do you think when you were born into this world, like you were a baby and you were just coming out, right? Were you actually born into this world with that belief? Or did it come at a later point? This is one of my favorite questions to ask. Where do you think that story began? When did you pick up this belief? What is the origin of this story? The reason we ask this question is we want to know the first instance that you may have had in your life where you picked up this story. Because as I will share later, the belief that we're dealing with here is an interject. It's a belief that we take on from the environment around us or from people around us as we're growing up. And then we believe this about ourselves. This is actually one of my favorite ways to illustrate that things like fear of failure, the need to be perfect, are not things that are genuinely parts of us. And usually when I ask this question, I like to be a little bit humorous to get the point across. And I'll say, just a quick pause here. Interjections are only one of the 3 kinds of faulty mental patterns that can stop you from creating the life that you want. And if you want to know what the other 2 are, you can download my free playbook where I show you how to turn your mind into an asset instead of a liability, combining the power of neuroscience, shadow work, and data-driven gamification tools. If you're interested in that, go to the link datadrivenactualization.com/playbook, put in your name and your email, and it'll be delivered to your inbox right away. Do you think when you were born into this world, God was actually saying, hey, you know what I'm going to give to Mark? I'm going to give to Mark a massive fear of failure, a massive need to be perfect. So whenever he wants to do something or try something new, he's just terribly afraid. When I ask this question like that, usually people will go, of course not, that didn't happen. And that's the first instance where they start realizing this belief was not a part of them. They picked it up from somewhere else, and that's so powerful, and you're about to see exactly why.
I think at a later point, because you get brought up with those sets of like ideologies, and you see the people around you doing the same type of thing.
Okay.
That's why it becomes ingrained into the culture.
Okay. Now, if this came at a later point, would this still be your belief to carry?
Not necessarily. No, I don't think it should be.
This is where he's realizing he now has the power to completely drop this belief. It wasn't his belief to begin with, and we can give it back to wherever it came from. Okay. And have you thought about this before? Or are you just realizing that now?
I think partially, but at the same time, it's like, because that's what you've been so used to, it's quite tough to like go away from that type of thinking and belief.
Yeah, it's like, a song you listen to too many times and you're trying to go to bed, right? But the song is still stuck in your head.
Yeah, for sure.
So here I'm getting a little bit of buy-in for him to drop this belief. And the reason I'm doing that, and you can use this in your own belief work as well, is sometimes there will be parts of you who will have resistance to dropping a belief like this. Because you may think, well, this fear of failure is not all bad because it helps me work a lot harder than other people. It helps me guarantee outcomes. Now, what's important to recognize is we can keep that healthy pattern with a more gentle, a more relaxed approach while dropping the belief either way. Because it's not the fear of failure that keeps you motivated. And even if it is, you don't want that source of motivation. You likely want to evolve that, right? So this is where I'm taking a pause and I'm making sure Mark is extremely clear that this is a belief he wants to drop, and he's not being forced into it. because I'm there, the camera's there, and it's an experience.
Okay, so I want you to imagine just around the first time in your life where you felt this belief to came into your life. Whether it was 5 years old, 6 years old, whatever time you remember, see if you can fully bring yourself back to that experience.
It's quite tough. It's quite tough because it's not one particular moment in time. It's like because you get reminded again and again and again over the course of your life. It's not just one like pinnacle moment, I think.
And when you remember that, does it create any feelings or sensations in your body?
Not necessarily, no.
It's more like a mental idea.
Yeah.
Okay. And how would you describe the idea in your head?
I think it's an idea that's there, but like it doesn't really, I don't actively think about it. It's when I start thinking about like maybe doing these things that it starts to come up for me.
Okay, so it's there, but it's not always apparent. And it almost just shows up when you're trying to do something that's new or that's a little bit risky.
100%, yeah.
So here I'm getting clear on, does this idea have any feelings or sensations in the body that are associated to it? Because sometimes people cannot necessarily verbalize the belief, but when they remember an experience, they feel it in their body. And that's when we want to use more of a sensorial modality where we're working with the energies of the body. Sometimes it's just a thought, and that's when we can work with thinking. Sometimes it's a symbol, right? So the reason I'm asking him, is this showing up in your body? Are there any feelings to it? Is I want to use the appropriate healing modality to the issue that he's dealing with. And here, because it's showing up in his thinking, we are going to work with that.
Okay, so what I want you to do now is imagine your hand could reach at the back of your head, right? And just take that idea out of your mind and see if you can just hold it in your hands.
Okay.
Really bring your hand and then just take it out. Okay, and when you do that, what kind of experience does that create?
I feel like because it's here, it's not like in my head anymore.
And what's different about that? Like what would that allow you to do if you remember that all the time?
I guess control it a bit more because you realize it doesn't have to stay there.
Right, you can move it, right? You can play with it.
Yeah.
It's like, we look at this building and we see it and it feels like it's always been there. But there was a time at which that building was no longer there or was not there. And it's the same with beliefs, right? They're ingrained so early on that we think it was always there and it was a part of the life that we were created to live. But now we can see, well, this belief didn't come from me. So now what I want you to do is look at this belief in your hand and just imagine throwing it back to your culture.
It's gone.
What's coming up for you now?
Nothing necessarily in the moment because, as I said, it's like I'm not trying to do those things right now, but it's like it feels nice. It feels like you don't have to think about it and you can control it and hopefully overcome those things.
When you say it feels nice, how would you describe that feeling?
So here I want him to double down on the new feeling of life without carrying on to this belief. And that comes to this concept of the difference that makes a difference. And the way you can think about this, right, is imagine, two ships sailing in an ocean, but then as they are sailing, they just change their direction by 1 degree here. Eventually, they end up in completely different directions, right? And when we have an experience like this, the one Mark just had, or the one you can have, working through these tools in your own life, and you let go of a belief, a lot of the time you may feel a very slight shift, like, it feels nice to experience life without this belief. Now, go deeper into what that feeling is exactly like, because the more you pay attention to that feeling, the more fruits, the more gifts that feeling will give you. And by extrapolating that feeling into your daily life and asking yourself, okay, what difference does that make in my relationships? What difference does that make in my business? What difference does that make in my health? You're able to see, wow, this feeling of no longer carrying the belief that I cannot fail makes a massive difference in my life. And it doesn't just feel nice, it feels actually amazing. We're almost imprinting that feeling into our emotional memory, so we learn how to carry that feeling for the rest of our lives.
I think in a way it's like coming to the realization that you don't actually have to carry the burden of all the people that have come before you, of all the people that are around you that are doing the same thing. It feels great.
So this is where his thinking is now shifted, right? Before it was like, if I want to start my business, it's a little bit risky. I don't know what to do about it. Now he's going, this burden is not mine to carry. I do not have to carry the burdens of my culture, the burdens of my family. I'm a completely free person to live the life that I want. And that's the shift, along with the feeling of feeling nice.
So what you want to do from kind of this point forward, right, is you want to remember this change in state, because an experience like this can remind you something that you forgot. But we want to come back to that state so it turns into a trait of who we are. And what we did here is there's 3 types of beliefs, right? The belief that we're working with is called an introjection. So the way I like to think about it is it's a belief that you took on from an outside experience and you made it about yourself. So let's say your culture was like, hey, grades are important. Even if you got a 96, why didn't you get 100, right? Classic. And you take that as, okay, I cannot fail. But that was actually an experience that came from the outside. So when we have that kind of beliefs and we give it back, we have the freedom to create more of the life that we want to live. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. It's like you're making space for new things and you're making space for growth, really.
Yeah, so it's not as much about trying to change the belief and control it. It's just recognizing when something is your authentic self, and if not, just giving it back. So it liberates you more and more, and you discover more of who you are, basically.
It's amazing. It's amazing insight.
Yeah. Did you have any questions about this or anything you wanted to ask?
No, not particularly.
Cool. Thanks for participating,
No
man.
problem at all.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Great
What
to
was
meet
your
you.
name?
Mark.
Mark?
And yours?
Ege. Nice to meet you.
Ege. Great to meet you.
Thank you so much, man.
No problem at all.
Just a quick disclaimer here. Obviously, this is me literally approaching a stranger in the streets of Spain and turning an interview into a healing experience. So the level of depth we can go into in just 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes with someone who doesn't know who I am, who probably doesn't trust me that much, is a lot lower than the depth I can go into with clients I work with who have been working with me for months on these beliefs, right? So a lot of this, what you see in this video, shows the potential of this work. But if I had an extra 30 minutes, an hour to dive into this with Mark, we could go so much deeper. But in this video, I wanted to just show you a taste of what you can do with your own beliefs by recognizing which beliefs weren't yours to begin with and seeing the power that you have to give them back to their original source so you can experience a completely different reality. If you enjoy this video, from here you have 2 options. First, for people who want to experience the power of this process firsthand, you can go into the link below and book a free belief rewiring call with me. There's nothing that you're going to be sold on this call. The whole purpose is for us to explore your biggest limiting belief and see if we can remove it so you know how it's like to live life at your full potential. Secondly, if you're someone who thinks this sounds cool, but I have no idea who you are, I want to do more research, I also have a free playbook that walks you through how you can master your mind and create the life that you want, combining the power of neuroscience, shadow work, and data-driven gamification tools. If you want to download that, you can go to datadrivenactualization.com/playbook, put in your email, put in your name, and it'll be delivered to your inbox right away. And you can go through that for free so that you get what you want out of life. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you like this format, please drop a comment. This is new, so I would love to hear your feedback to see if this is something that I should continue doing. Have a good rest of your day and see you next time.